I think backpacking is a really symbolic thing, and a lot of the lessons that are learned out here can be applied to regular life. I'm actually starting at the same spot that I did at the beginning of section 7, but instead of going west, I'm going east now. We're getting into November now. It's November 9th, and as you can see, pretty much all the leaves are off the trees now. I'm not seeing any blazes. 10 minutes into the hike, I'm already off the trail. Alright, back on the trail. I had this problem on the last section. There's so many fallen leaves on the trail. If the trees aren't blazed very well, it makes it kind of hard to follow the trail. You don't come to many of these outlooks in the UP where it just opens up and you can see for miles. From here, I can actually see the entire section from the Porkies. So just over there is Berglund Tower, and that was like a mile into section 6. And then over here on the horizon, you can just barely see the Copper Peak ski jump. That was the end of section 6. So from there to there is about 55 miles of hiking. Never been able to see an entire section in one view before, so this is pretty cool. Just got up for the sunrise. It's a little chilly, but not too bad. I'm sure it's gonna warm up. I'm not really sure what I have coming up for today. Eventually I'll be getting to a place called Old Victoria, which is an old abandoned mining outpost. There's supposed to be some abandoned buildings and shelters and stuff to stay in too. So that should be pretty cool. Found a snake. A lot of times I find them sunning themselves right in the middle of the trail. And they're camouflaged so well I don't even see them until I almost step on them and they slither out of the way. This guy, I almost stepped on him, he didn't even move. It's lucky I saw him. This is definitely the most calm snake I've ever found. Might just be cold. Doing these hikes across the UP has made me realize how diverse this terrain is. I really don't know what to expect with every section, because every time it's been totally different terrain. I had no idea that there was these kinds of views in the UP. Of course there's the escarpment trail in the Porkies, which is kind of similar to this. But I think this is even bigger. And I've never even heard of it before. And this isn't quite the mountains, but it feels kind of close. It just proves that there actually used to be a mountain range here millions of years ago, but it still kind of feels like the mountains in some places. I really hope you just saw that. Freaking bald eagle just flew by right in front of me. Oh my god. So I'm sure everybody has their own style when they're backpacking, but for me, I kind of like to plan as little as possible, because then it feels more like an adventure when you're out here. And I just kind of make up my plans as I go throughout the day, just depending on weather and terrain, where the water sources are, and where it might look like a good place to camp and all that. Well, I stopped a little bit earlier than I was hoping to today, but I had two options. I could either camp up here or go another like 3 miles or so and then camp down in the woods. All that means is I have to do a few more miles tomorrow, which isn't really a big deal. I'd much rather camp up here. Even though I only went about 13 miles or so today, there was a lot of ups and downs. But these were no PUDs. I think I explained PUDs on an earlier section, which stands for pointless ups and downs. The ups and downs today were not pointless. The views were awesome, and every time I went up, this whole section so far has just been a series of escarpments, and I've been going up and down those the whole time. So even though it's a lot of work, it was definitely worth it. The sun just set, the moon's out. I'm sure the stars are going to be really good tonight. It's perfectly clear. Day 3, and it is cold this morning, 35 degrees. Winter is definitely around the corner. You wouldn't have thought that yesterday though. Yesterday afternoon it was like, got up to 65 and I was sweating. But once the sun goes down it gets real cold. I've got kind of a longer day planned for today, close to 18 miles, but that's just because I went so short yesterday. The views were just too good, and I had to go pretty slow, take my time and enjoy each one. From here I can see the whole line of escarpments that I've been walking on for the past couple days. So all of that from where I'm standing right now, following the escarpments all the way to the left, and then way over here, that's about 20 miles. This is such a rare chance on the North Country Trail to be able to see that far back or forward on the trail. I'm going to step off the NCT for a little bit to do this Norwich Interpretive Trail. So this short little interpretive trail will take us through the mining territory of the Ohio Trap Rock Company. Pretty much all the infrastructure in the UP was built for mining companies or logging companies. Anybody extracting resources from the land. All of these little mining towns were boom and bust towns. For a short period there were thousands of people living and working there. And then the mines ran out of ore and the jobs moved elsewhere and people left. It looks like there's going to be signs like this along the whole way. So I'll just give you a little guided tour. Back when they were mining, they used steam to power all their machinery. And this pond here was dammed up and then used to generate steam power. Here it tells how they actually processed the copper ore out of the rock. They used these big machines called stamp mills, and they were powered by steam. And they basically just lifted up a big piece of iron and then smashed it down on the rock. And then they would run all the sand down a series of troughs, and the heavier copper would settle down to the bottom. This picture here of this guy was taken a mile underground. That's how deep these mines were. Since this area is so remote, it was too expensive to ship in new parts when stuff broke or it had to be sharpened, so they actually built their own blacksmith shop on site. It's just crazy that all it takes is 150 years, and this is all that's left of a whole blacksmith shop. Just a few pieces of rusty metal. As they removed the ore from the rock, the overhanging rock began to sag, and they had to use trees to prop up the ceiling or else it would cave in on them. And I've seen pictures of the trees buckling and breaking under the weight. Well, this trail here probably doesn't look like much now, but this was actually one of the main roads out of the mine way back in the 1840s. They would have wagons and horse and buggies and everything going up this road. They've also shown that the oldest tree here doesn't date back to before 1860, because around the 1860s they cut everything down. After the mining towns were established, that's when trees were allowed to begin growing back up again. There didn't used to be any black ash before the mining, but after the mining, that's what dominates the land here now. I just find it really interesting how devastating the mine was to the environment. I mean, they cut down every tree. There was nothing left when they built the mine in the surrounding town. But here we are 150 years later. The old growth is gone, but there's still a healthy forest here. And it has been changed forever by the mining operation, but it has still come back. So I've been really excited on this section because of these wide open views. I get to keep looking back at the escarpments that I was just on. It's pretty cool to see how far I've come. But that also has its downsides, because now I can see how far I have to go. Those hills over there signal what is almost the end of my day. After I go up and over those, I still have another 2 miles. And that's pretty far away. It's already been a long day. Well, I didn't make it to the old Victoria shelter that I was hoping to get to tonight. It was still a super long day though. This is the end of the last escarpment before I got to the old Victoria shelter. And from here I would have gone down, and it's about another 2 miles to the shelter. But since it was already pretty dark when I got here, and this is an amazing spot, it's pretty rare to be able to camp up on a peak for 3 nights in a row on the NCT. So I thought I might as well take advantage of that too. The other thing is, it is dead calm up here. If it was windy, that might have been a deal breaker, because it's getting cold. It's below freezing already. So even though I'm kind of bummed about not making it to the shelter, this is not a compromise. This is a pretty good spot too. Well, it was nice and calm when I went to bed, but the wind was howling when I got up. Made it real hard to get up because it's pretty cold. Looks like I'm starting to enter the remnants of Old Victoria, the old mining town I was talking about yesterday. I was hoping to get there yesterday, but it would have been dark by the time I got here anyway. So maybe it's better that we're seeing it now. I didn't realize there was so much of a historical element on the NCT. This isn't just about hiking through nature. Oh, now this is a luxury here. An outhouse. It even has the moon carved in the door. This thing's legit. I see the shelter coming up. Yeah, it would have been nice to stay here last night, but that means I would have had to have walked through all those ruins in the dark. So I'm definitely glad I got to see those. Would have been a lot warmer sleeping here last night. Nothing will make you appreciate a simple chair as much as backpacking. Well, even though I didn't get to stay in the shelter, I got to use it for an hour or so. But now I'm having a similar problem that I've had the past couple days. It's noon, and I've only done about 2 miles. So for the rest of the day, I'm gonna have to bust some miles out. Coming up on Okundakun Falls here. It has been a long afternoon hiking through the woods. Trails have been nice and muddy, but this waterfall should be a nice way to break up the afternoon. I just can't stay too long because I still have another 7 miles or so that I want to get in today. These are the parts of the hike that tend to drag on forever, and they kind of suck while you're doing them. But afterwards, you don't remember these parts. At least for me, it's only the good parts that I remember, or that I think about. Well, here's the falls. That's pretty cool. That puts me in a little better mood. And now I'm in not so good of a mood again. These shorter days are really making it hard to get the miles I'm used to getting. Normally I'd be able to hike until 9 or 10 at least. I mean, in the middle of the summer here, it doesn't get dark till after 11. But now it's getting dark at 6. That cuts a lot of hours off the day. and those are the hours that I used to count on to get my miles in. Last night I had to hike another 4 miles in the dark just to get me within range of my finishing point, which is at Bob Lake today. My friend John's going to be picking me up in the early afternoon, so I had to make sure that I could get there in time. Which blaze do I follow? There's too many! That's the real one. I just stepped off the NCT onto a side trail going to Bob Lake. It's just another 1.7 miles, and then that'll be it for this section. And after this, I think I only have 2 more sections left. I'll be finishing the NCT in the Upper Peninsula in Marquette. I'll be able to walk to my front door, and that's how I'll finish. I'm going to finish the UP this year no matter what the weather is. But I have a feeling these last couple sections are going to be pretty difficult. I've done plenty of one-night camping trips in the winter, but I've never gone winter backpacking over multiple nights and covering a lot of miles. So you'll get to watch as I learn how to do this in the winter. Alright, Bob Lake. And here's Bella barking at me. This is John's dog. Hey, Bella. Hi, Bella. Hello. And that's it for this section. Now I gotta go back to reality for another week and a half. See you again on section 8.